Good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. I just said goodbye to Mariana on the phone, and our technology worked wonderfully today. And I forgot to ask her if the lighting is okay, so she'll call me if it isn't. I selected a subject today called Discover Yourself, and but before I go into that, let me answer the questions that some of you had, and then we'll go into my subject. The question was, you're wondering if I would record the show on my experience I had, which you refer to as mothership. I refer to as extraterrestrial. Um, if I do have Spirit's permission, I will record it on a separate show, not on a Sunday at 4:44, and it won't be live unless you happen to be watching it while I'm doing it, but it won't be at an announced time. But Mariana will put it on a tab for you. But I'm not sure they want me to do that. There's still a concern, I'm being told, called through my own method I have of the communicating spirits communicate with me, that it's going to draw a total group of people to us that are not on the spiritual path that we are, that are exclusively what you might call UFO buffs, the kind that go to those conventions and dress up like Captain Kirk and like the aliens. It'll draw another entire element of people that we might not want to share our site with, because there's nothing to prevent them, once they find our site, from getting on and posting and wanting to talk about UFOs, or alien life or extraterrestrial life. So I really and truly going to rely on Spirit. But if I do it, it'll be on a separate tab. It won't be on the regular show. To answer Linda's question, and also Jay asked that same question too. Kim, you wanted to know, do we have any dates yet for our Music and Miracles? You called it seminars. We call it a gathering. We do not have a date yet, but I can tell you right now we're going to miss what I originally thought was going to be like last day of May. We probably moved back 1 month. I think the last time I heard from the dean, from Russia. The last time I heard from Russia, she said that she was traveling other countries other than middle of June. So it might be, so the first date we can possibly have would be like one of the weekends in the middle of June. And again, it would be in Los Angeles. So we're working on scheduling. There's a lot of activities that happen behind the scenes, such as picking out the venue, making sure the arena or the auditorium we want to have it is available that date, both Saturday and Sunday. Sometimes you might find they're available on Saturday, but they're not available on Sunday, or vice versa. And then there's the advertising, promotion, going to cut some, put together some interviews on the local media beforehand, radio, I don't know about television, but radio, and hopefully the written news media, newspapers. So there are a number of events that have to take place. And so it's not just saying, yes, we'll have it such date. Once you select a date, then you find out whether you can put all the activities together in order to accommodate the date you selected. But right now, we're probably looking around the middle of June. But I promise you, I'll give you plenty of notice. You have at least 30 days notice. And the next question came from Lee. Lee says he's finished reading the messages in time for truth. And he doesn't remember, hear people often say when someone passes away that they're going to be with their dad or their mom. Now, they're together again. I don't remember this being addressed in any of my books. He wants to know that, do we reunite with our loved ones after our souls depart from this life? Or is there a singular journey before we're reincarnated? I don't know what you mean by a singular journey. There could be 100 years between the time when your soul leaves your body and you come back into a new body, that you are reincarnated. I'm going to answer your question about you see your loved ones. But first I want to explain what I just said. It's been my understanding that when someone passes away at a very young age, where they haven't had an opportunity to deal with the karma that they were supposed to deal with, or they had intended to deal with in this new lifetime, that they are reborn again. I want to go back to that word again, reborn again, in a minute too. That they're reborn again into another lifetime on Earth because they didn't have an opportunity to deal with their karma. A child that's born, passes away during birth, would be reborn almost, say, within the next 30 days, or 60 days possibly, into another body, well, I want to say placebo, but I want to say placebo, another body, another infant in a mother's womb. It could be that someone that's lived a long, long lifetime and have had many, many events and experiences, that there could be as much as 50 or 100 years before the next lifetime. Also, there could be the spirit guides will want to select a certain parents for them who haven't even met each other yet. Parents might be only 8 or 9 years old in this lifetime, and they say these two children, one's living in Chicago, one's living in Canada, are someday going to meet and get married, and you're going to be their child, but that you won't come back for 40 years. Excuse me, not 40. Let's say 20 years, 25 years before you be born again in a physical body, because we want you to be born the child of those parents, because they have certain lessons that they can teach you and help you with in terms of your evolving, in terms of your own growth, in terms of your wanting to be inspired by them, or lessons you have to learn from them. Of course, they don't have a clock back there, but they have a calendar, because, oh gosh, got another 50 years away. Time is totally different in the spiritual world. But at any rate, I do want you to know that, traditionally speaking, in Earth time, a spirit is born again relatively quickly if they passed away at a young age. And on the other hand, they're more inclined to more years go by in the mortal world for one who has lived a long time and has a lot of things to work over in terms of their karma, what they experienced in this past lifetime they had. I'm sure that my bringing this to your attention, it all sounds very logical, that would be the way it would be. But as far as seeing your parents or your loved ones on the other side, they are there to greet you. They're sort of like the door openers when you first come, and to let you know they're there, and there's a reunion, so to speak. And then, it's my understanding, you then go to the level that you're supposed to go to. In other words, if you were on step 444 and you happen to pass at the same time in an accident with somebody else who's on a member of your family that was on step 332, both of you might go through the gate, so to speak, the gateway into heaven, to the light, through the tunnel, at the same time, and be greeted by your loved ones, grandparents or your parent, who they are waiting for you to greet you. And there is a reunion, and once you have that reunion, and then the person who is in step 444, will go into their classroom, so to speak, will go into their level in the spiritual world, and the other sibling that was on step 323, she or he would go to their level as to where they had attained in their pyramid. In terms of where, I say their pyramid, in terms of how evolved they were and where they would go to receive their experience of the spiritual world, consistent with other spirits, other souls that also had expired, had left their physical bodies, who were on the same level as they were, and had similar lessons to learn. Again, you would not want to put a 4th grade student in the same class as somebody who's a senior in college. Nor would you want to put the senior in college in the same classroom as a child who's in 2nd grade. So you obviously would go to whatever grade level you have achieved, evolved to, I shouldn't say achieved, but evolved to in the past life in which you just experienced. Sometimes these things are so uncomplicated that once they're explained in words, I hope I'm using the proper words, you say, well, that makes sense. It's no different on earth. You don't put a second grade in the same class as a senior in college and vice versa. So sure, you'd have a reunion. Family comes home at the end of school. One child's a college student, another child might be in the 4th grade, brother and sister, a large family. They have a family reunion, spend the summer together. And then school starts again in September, and the college student goes back to college, completes his education, goes to the next level, perhaps going to junior year in college. And the youngster in the 4th grade goes back to school also, to elementary school, to go into the 5th grade, even though they spent the summer together as a family. So when you think of it in that analogy, it all makes sense to you. So yes, you do see your loved ones when you do make that transition leap. You have your reunion, and then you go back to school, and then you move on to whatever level of you've achieved spiritually. Today I'm drinking lemonade. Sure, it's tart. It's very tart lemonade. Okay, Marianne. Oh, I mentioned I want to say something born again. Did it ever occur to you when Joshua said, you shall be born again in the New Testament, that he was talking about reincarnation? I mean, that's what he was talking about. The church misunderstood the word being born again. And went ahead and tried to incorporate it into a theological belief system, which we recently had a discussion with in a post. But I have to tell you very candidly, being born again means your spirit's being born again into a newborn baby. And that's what Jess was talking about in the New Testament when they quoted him, but they didn't understand what he was saying in the 4th century when they were translating it. When he said, you be born again, he meant that you would be born again. You would have a transition of soul, and your spirit would be born again into a newborn baby. It's that simple. And we've been trying to have this great philosophical conversation about what is a born-again Christian. That means a Christian who is born again into a newborn baby. Maybe not this time as a Muslim or as a Jewish person or no religion. But it's that simple. And I kind of got a kick out of all these conversations. I was saying, what does a born-again Christian mean? And the Shudder says, what means a Christian that was born again? That's like a joke someone said the other day. They said, what is it? Now, you know I'm the last person in the world that's prejudiced. They said, what is an Afro-American pilot? Airplane pilot? What is an Afro-American pilot called? He's called a pilot. Someone mentioned that the other day, and I thought it was kind of cute because we have a tendency to assume when someone says, what is an Asian school teacher called? They're called a school teacher. Because there's so many stereotypes we talk about. The other day I was at a friend's house. I hate to use this expression. I hate to use it, but I've known this. I love this family, and I know the son Preston. I've known him since he was a little baby. I told you this before. And he went and got some Thai food, and he said, "Oh, they Jewed us out of some rice. Meaning they didn't get a lot of rice." And I got so pissed at him for saying something like that. No, I wasn't offended, but why would he use an expression like that? What do Jews have to do with rice that he bought in a Thai restaurant? The point was that there's these stereotypes. So when someone says, what is an Afro-American pilot called? Immediately you think of, oh, some remark could be made that's going to be prejudiced towards Afro-Americans. I said, no, it's called a pilot. I thought the funny thing was the director in the Academy Awards, there was a black director from England who got picked as the best director. And he referred to on television, well, he was an African American. Well, hello, he's an Englishman. Not only is he an African or American, he was from England. He was a black gentleman from England. And the TV announcer said it's wonderful we have an African American winning And it cracked me up. He's not African American. He's an Englishman. He was born in London with dark skin. But there goes for stereotypes. It's funny how you can go off at a tangent. I have a tendency to do that. I apologize for that. Yeah, there was another question Marianne asked. Besides that one, she had about 5 questions in here. She said, would you be willing to give us some current links for getting in touch with authentic psychic readers? Authentic psychic readers? Well, Dwayne is, he's made his transition. He's the only one that I have been recommending in years and years and years. So I don't want to make any recommendations now that Dwayne's no longer with us on this earth plane. And the next question was, my wife just came home and she's upstairs on oak floor. She's wearing high heels. I'm gonna ask her to take her shoes off, because she's gonna be hearing in the background in a minute when she walks. Says, how much did Jesus have to do with the militant groups active in Jerusalem during his lifetime? How much did he have to do with them? Well, you mean the militant people of the Jewish faith? He didn't have anything to do with them. They had thought that when the Messiah was being born again, that he was going to come with sword in hand and lead them to victory of extricating the Romans out of Jerusalem. That was a total belief, that he'd be a military leader. And they were totally shocked when Joshua came and they recognized that he was indeed the anointed one, that he did perform all these miracles, that he wasn't willing to take up arms. And that's when he had the expression, what belongs to Caesar is Caesar's, meaning that we're not here to start a war. He believed in peace. And there was a lot of disappointment in some of the people. His immediate followers even were disappointed, thinking he was going to be a military leader. When I say military, I don't mean he was going to start an army, but he would cause a rebellion, which did happen years later, but not by him. And the Romans feared that. And that's one of the reasons why the Romans crucified Joshua, because he had that kind of following, that they were afraid that he would become militant and that he would lead a revolution. But of course, he did not believe in that. He believed in just the opposite. And that's what he said, render it to Caesar, which belongs to Caesar, meaning that he didn't want to have a controversy with the Romans. He wanted everybody to live as brothers and sisters in universal compassion, universal love for one another, and did not distinguish between the Romans and the Judaic people. He healed Roman people also that needed the healing. Would you excuse me 1 minute? I want to ask my wife to take her shoes off. Mary Jo? Can you please take your shoes off? I'm doing a live show right now. I'm sorry about that. It wasn't to my wife. It was somebody else, a friend of hers, who came in, and she didn't know. So I asked her to take her shoes off. Otherwise, you could hear her walking upstairs, because there's an oak floor, wearing high heels, and oak floor has a tendency to echo. Okay. So I did answer the question that he didn't have anything to do with the militants, and they thought, if you read Revelation, the man wrote Revelation, he said Joshua was coming back with a sword in hand, and he was going to kill all the Romans. They thought his coming back, his resurrection, not his resurrection, they thought that when Joshua was going to come back again the second time, the second coming of Jesus, back in those days, back in biblical days, they thought he was going to come back and he was going to lead them in a revolt against the Romans. And the proof of that is if you read Revelation. He has Joshua coming with a sword in hand, riding a horse or whatever. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he thought he was going to destroy the Romans. So you know that I'm not just fabricating or enlarging a concept I had. I'm telling you the absolute truth. They believed that the Messiah was going to be born as a religious spiritual leader, but actually not a spiritual leader as much as being a militant leader, one that would lead them to battle and be able to throw the Romans out of the Holy Land. And after Joshua died on the cross, they believed that the second coming of Joshua was going to happen during their lifetimes, and this time he would come as a soldier, so to speak, or a general, to lead them to victory. Miriam asked a question about spiritual DNA. So spiritual DNA is sometimes puzzled many readers. My feeling is that spiritual DNA has to do with soul memory, and mortal body DNA has to do with biological. Yes, you're absolutely right. Spiritual DNA is not the same DNA as we have in our genes or our RNA that we inherit from biologically from our parents, or from our grandparents, or from our bloodline. Spiritual DNA isn't even DNA. It's more of a awareness, a where you are in your last lifetime as to how far you've gone in the pyramid. It's like having received a degree, a college degree. Let's say that you have to reach step number 444 to receive an entrance into college, a high school degree. So you have let's say a college degree. So if you're at 444, you have a college degree, and you take that degree with you into your next lifetime when you're reborn again. And so hypothetically, that degree, DNA, degree, begins with a D. I'm making this up now, I'm trying to be clever. DNA, degree in I can't think of a word with an N and an A that would apply to a good acronym. DNA being an acronym for degree in nautical, degree in neurological, whatever. Anyway, the DNA has nothing to do with your genes, your DNA or your RNA from heredity. Your DNA has to do with how advanced your soul is, and that you bring with you that degree, that certificate of, yes, you had reached that point in your last lifetime, and now you have that DNA, that spiritual DNA knowledge of having a greater understanding that you're born with of your spirituality and your own spirituality and your relationship with God and what your purpose is in this lifetime. And now we go to the next question that was Bonnie had, and she wants to know if John the Beloved was Mary Magdalene, because Michelangelo made him look like that. How does Michelangelo know what Mary Magdalene looks like and what John looks like? And then Randy, you said, yeah, you wondering about that too, Randy? Wow. First of all, Michelangelo does a painting. How does he know what Mary Magdalene looked like? How does he know what John looked like? So some of you think that John, he painted John to look like Mary Magdalene. How do you know what Mary Magdalene? I'm not trying to embarrass you. It just cracked me up when I read this. How does Michelangelo doesn't know what John, it's a painting. There weren't 12 people at that table. It was the Last Supper, was the first night of Passover. It was held at the home of Zebedee, who was the father of John and James. He owned the fleeting ships along in the Sea of Galilee, which was really a lake called Lake Tiberias. And there was there was probably about 50 people. Some were downstairs having dinner, and some were upstairs having their Passover service. There wasn't. Do you actually think there were 12 people sitting at that table because Michelangelo painted there were 12 people? No, no. There was children at the table with him. There was husbands and wives. It was a family dinner celebrating the Passover holiday where the youngest boy, there was no little boy there, the youngest boy holds up a piece of flat bread, which the church made into the Eucharist, and he says, Liebe Vater, ich wollte fragen für Kasches. He says in Hebrew, Dear Father, I want to ask you 4 questions. Why is this night different than any other night? And they go through this ceremony where Joshua breaks off a little piece of the matzos, flat bread, and passes around the whole piece. Everybody takes a piece of it. And of course the church changed that ceremony and made it into the Eucharist, where we're supposed to be eating Jesus' flesh, I guess. I don't understand that. Joshua would be horrified. Do you know that caused let me finish it. And then drinking the wine, the ceremony is you drink the wine and then you put it outside the door for the angel to drink, but it's supposed to be drinking the blood of Jesus. Do you know what would Joshua say if he actually could tell these people, these idiots, you're not drinking my blood, and you're not eating my body when you put that wafer in your mouth, you take a little sip of wine. Plus the fact, it's not very healthy to do that. You're passing germs to one another when you're drinking out of the same little sip of water, or whatever it is that the priest has, that you're sipping out of. You got 50 people, somebody could have a flu that's sipping out of there, and the next thing you know, the next day, there's 50 people in that parish that has a flu. It's not sanitary, Father. I'm talking about Father, not the Father upstairs. I'm talking about the Father with the black robe around. It's not sanitary to have them all sipping out of the same goblet. How did I go into that? Oh, you're talking about the Last Supper. The 12 people sitting around the table. Didn't happen. There was a husband, a wife, and children. There was families. There was about 50 people. Some were upstairs dining and some were downstairs dining. So the painting that Michelangelo did is a work of art. It was not John as being a transvestite, pretending he's Mary Magdalene. You guys crack me up sometimes, your question. Randy, same question. You want to know if Apostle John, first of all, he wasn't an apostle at that point, he was a disciple. He hadn't become a teacher yet, but you want to know if he was also your little darling Mary Magdalena. No, he wasn't your little darling Mary Magdalena. He wasn't a transvestite, and you guys crack me up. It's okay. You enlighten my show. The theme of the show is supposed to be discover yourself, and you've already taken up a half hour of my time, in your time, with these questions, which are good. Some of the questions were really good. Some were really good. I like the fact that you realize now being born again means reincarnated, and that's what Joshua was talking about. And the church didn't want to acknowledge reincarnation, so they wanted born again to have a totally different meaning. And you were trying to come up with a meaning. A born again Christian is like the African American pilot. He's a pilot. Born again Christian is a Christian who died, who's born again into a newborn baby. Okay. Discover yourself. You know, when you take into consideration how incredible we have advanced in society in the last 100 years of knowing us, of learning more about who we are. I mean, our world is thousands of years old. I mean, of course, you go back 10,000 years ago, they knew who we were. They were more advanced than we are. I'm talking about the Lemurians and Atlanteans. But in this civilization, you go back 1,000 years, and yet It wasn't that long ago, 500 years ago, 600 years ago, they thought the earth was flat. They thought, of course it has to be flat. How can it not be flat? It has to be just linear. Then how do you end up going around and coming back from where you started? That must have puzzled them. If the earth was flat, how could you leave Spain and travel and 5 years later end up in Spain again? Unless you turned around and gone back to the same direction you came from. That must have blown their minds away. And someone said, hey, what if the earth's not flat? What if it's round? And they said, wait a minute. How can it be round? How can the earth be round? If the earth was round, if you were here, the people down there are upside down. They fall off. They're still walking on their feet, upside down, like like walking on a ceiling. Did you ever think about that? How could someone on the other side of the globe be, while we're standing up straight, and they're on the other side of the globe, they got to be upside down? Well, yeah, no, it's gravity, but it's a word. Gravity is a word. Nice word, but how can you envision it? What if you could actually see a picture of the earth, and it showed you people walking on top here? Let me put it this way. You have people walking on here. You can see these little stick figures walking here. What would it show on the other side? It would show these people down here with their heads be there, with their feet down here, or their heads be here and their feet up there. Think about that one. Let's have a subject. Let's have a conversation on that one on the site. Sure, it's gravity, but how could that be? How could that be? You have people here, you know what I'm saying? There's something missing in that law of gravity that Newton came up with that I don't understand yet. But we do know that the earth is not flat, that it is round, and we only discovered that not thousands of years ago. Only discovered that in the last 500, 600 years. Amazing, isn't it? And Galileo came up with a clever idea. He said, guess what? You know that moon up there? That moon is not traveling around us. We're traveling around that moon. Our planet, our little rock we're on is round, and it's traveling around that moon. The sun, the sun. And they said, are you out of your mind? And he got put in prison. The man actually was put in prison for about 8 years, I think it was, by the church for coming up with this crazy idea that we are traveling around the sun, that the sun traveling around the sun rather than the sun traveling around us. But that wasn't such a crazy idea to believe the other way. Isn't it just as crazy to think that we're traveling around the sun as it would be the sun traveling around with us? Both of them are insane. If you think about it, what if the whole universe travels around us and we are the center of the universe? How many times have you heard that expression? You say something, oh, you're fantastic, you're the center of the universe. Why is it any more strange? Why isn't it just as strange to think that we have a rock, living on a rock that's traveling around the sun, than it is for we being a rock and the sun is traveling around us? They're both insane. How can, which takes us to a subject I want to talk about, insanity, in terms of how little we understand of the world we live in, how little we understand. Science can measure things. They should measure distances. They can measure something being a mile away. They even think they know the distance between us and the moon. How do they know the distance between us and the moon? Did they take a tape measure and measure the distance between us and the moon? How do they do that? I don't know how they know how far the moon is away from us. Plus, if we're in orbit, the orbit's not a perfect orbit. It's kind of an oval orbit, so it changes its distance. But science has come a long way, hasn't it? Even though it's gone a very little way or where it's going, let's say it's made a couple of inches progress in what's probably about a 10-mile journey before they really understand what maybe a million years in the future, how things evolve, how things really work. But science has made some breakthroughs. They know the size of objects. I don't know how they know the size of the moon. They can tell you what the dimensions, they can tell you what the diameter of the moon is. I don't know how. Did the gentleman that went to the moon, those 4 guys, did they get a tape measure and march across the moon and figure out its circumference? But they tell you they can tell you what the diameter of the moon is. It's amazing when you think about how much knowledge science has, even though we don't, as laymen, don't understand it. And I'm not sure they do either. How we know they're not making things up? You know what they say? 69.42% of the time, people make up statistics. Or is it 68.42% of the time, people make up statistics? I don't know. Anyway, they can weigh things. They can tell us what our health is, if we have diseases, and they can tell us how to cure the diseases. Technology, look at technology. I was a minute ago talking to Mariana in Australia. Here I am in Lake Oswego, Oregon, talking to Mariana in Australia. Mariana says, yes, I can see you on the screen. I hang up. I'm no longer talking to her. Now she's listening to me and watching me on the screen. And some of you are thousands of miles away from me. Some of you are in other countries and you're watching me on the screen. I have a 5-second delay. To you, there's no delay. It actually it takes 5 seconds because I'm looking at myself. There's a 5-second delay, but you're not having a delay. To you, it's simultaneous broadcasting. That's what simultaneous broadcasting means, by the way, as opposed to delayed broadcasting. But you know what's amazing? We don't have a damn bit of understanding. In spite of all the great scientific discoveries, man does not have an understanding of how our mind and our spirit works. Where does our mind go when we sleep at night? Where does our mind go? How much does our mind weigh? Our mind doesn't weigh anything. It doesn't have a weight. You hear people use the expression that, oh, his mind wandered. Where'd your mind wander? How can your mind wander? Did it get on a camel? Did it go by airplane? How could your mind wander? Or someone could say that his mind's full of ideas. Is that like a glass full of water, half full? How many ideas does your mind have? Somebody else is small-minded. See, they're saying his mind's really small, as opposed to someone else with a large mind, I guess. The mind has no dimension. We don't even know what the mind is. Think about that. We are so advanced technology that I can speak to you all over the world while I'm talking right now, and we don't even know how to define the word mind. Our soul. Soul mind. That's where I'm going. I'm leading this to the soul mind. Because we don't understand also the spiritual world. We don't understand mind, and we don't understand the spiritual world. What's the spiritual world like? Well, we're in the physical body. Do we have, church says, a Garden of Eden, a paradise, or a hell. You're either going to burn your ass, you're either going to burn off in some place that's going to be punished forever because you've been a bad guy, or you're going to be up in heaven. St. Peter's going to open that gate for you and let you into heaven, to the pearly gates, and you're going to be in some kind of a paradise. Well, we don't have a clue what the spiritual world is like. Although some people say they visit the spiritual world while they're still a physical body, which I don't know if they do or not. I know that doctor that was in a coma said he did. Good luck to him. Sold 1 million copies of his book. I'm not going there again. Time out. Forgive me. I'm not going there for him. I can't remember his name. The doctor was in a coma and wrote that bestseller book. Anyway, we don't have a clue while we're in physical body what the spiritual world is like. The only ones that might have a clue are the ones that had an NDE, near-death experience, but they only can take you into the entrance where their parents greet them, where the reunion hall is, the reunion hall, so to speak, where the reunion's held. And then they come back again into the body because they had a near-death experience. They didn't really die. But my point is that the soul is a connection between your mind and the spiritual world. That's why I call it a soul mind. It is the connection. The soul mind actually connects the physical world with the spiritual world. It's through your soul mind that heaven meets earth, through your soul mind. That's why it's so important that you connect to your soul mind. Because when you're living in your soul mind, it's only through your soul mind that you bring heaven onto earth, that you understand what spirituality is all about. And the people who don't live in the soul mind, but live in the ego mind, are far removed from understanding the spiritual world. And they don't even believe in a spiritual world, other than the kind perhaps that is taught in church, which is either heaven, which is either a hell, where you're going to burn 24 hours a day because the devil made you do some things you didn't want to do. Or St. Peter's going to open up some gate for you. I was going to tell you a joke. I shall tell you a joke. Who can I use for this joke? I'll use Randy. Okay. Randy and Mariana and me were driving in a car. Car went over a cliff. Next thing you know, we're in front of St. Peter. And I go first and I say, St. Peter, what's your name? I say, Nick Bunick. It's okay, Nick. Go down that hallway down there and go into room 27. I go down to room 27, open the door, and there's cockroaches and spiders and snakes and every terrible thing. And the door slams behind me and a voice says, Nick Bunick, this is your punishment. So Mariana says to St. Peter, St. Peter, where do I go? Mariana. Oh, okay. You go down to room 14. She walks down the hallway. She opens the door, goes into room 14. And there, the door's open, and there she sees elephant feces and monkey barf and the worst things and the worst odors in the world. And the door slams behind her, and the voice says, Mariana, that is your punishment. And then Randy says, St. Peter, where do I go? St. Peter says, Randy, oh yeah, Randy, you go down to room 51. Randy goes down to 51, real cocky, opens the door, and there is Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe lying on a bed totally without any clothes on. The door slams behind him, and God's voice says, Marilyn Monroe, this is your punishment. I'm sorry, Randy. Randy's got a good sense of humor. I'm sure you didn't get too mad. Mariana's mad at me, though, for telling that joke. Okay, let me move on. So the soul mind is the connection between. The soul mind's a connection between the spiritual world and our world we live in. But man can't really comprehend something bigger than himself. When I say man, I'm talking humanity, men and women. You really can't comprehend. You can't comprehend ourselves bigger than you. A tree can't comprehend a forest. A drop of water in the ocean can't comprehend the ocean. All they know is they're a drop of water. But through your mind, humanity, you can begin to comprehend that which is greater than we are through your soul mind. Through your soul mind, you can begin to comprehend that which is greater than we are in the spiritual world. For example, the universe. Does the universe have an end? How can the universe have an end? How can anything how can it have an end? Because what's beyond that end? Well, maybe the universe is round, just like the Earth. So what if the universe is round? Then you say, well, wait a minute. If it's round, there's space. There's going to be space outside that roundness, just like the Earth has space. Let us pretend the universe is round. The entire universe is round. The entire universe is round, which it may be. I'm being told it is. I say, well, but there's space. What's between that space? They say, other universes. There are parallel universes. I'm being told that's correct. That the universe is round, and there are other universes, not just our universe. There are parallel universes parallel to ours. And our universe is just like this. And somewhere in there is a little tiny little dot, which is our galaxy. And there's a little tiny dot in that you can't see, which is our planet Earth. But it's all makes sense, doesn't it? That there be other universes besides our universe, which means our universe is round, and within our universe is a planet round. It does make sense. It just makes common sense, but it's also, you got to think with your soul mind to understand that which is bigger than you are. You got to think with your soul mind. You know, our spirits were created by God before we came into the physical world. Just as we on earth have a need for children, or for our loved ones to have children, or our family have children, God also wanted children. We were created in the spiritual world by God, our Father, and our Mother, to share love with us, to share their love with us. We're their children. Because they want the companionship, and we are an expression, our spirit's expression of God's love. That's why we were created. That is one reason why we carry with us the same need to procreate and for humankind to also have children born into the physical world. But our individuality is a manifestation of what is inside of us. You are so unique. There is no one else in the earth on this planet like you. Even if we would address 10 people exactly alike, had 10 people the same gender, the same size, the same age, 10 pounds of size separating them, and came from even different countries and different cultures. They were different in their ambition, their intellect, their values, their attitudes. Why? Because you're in the body of a spirit that is not physical, but has evolved through thousands of years of experiences, insights, and qualities that make you so unique, the being that you are. There's no other one like you in the world. You're so unique. You're a child of God that's currently experiencing the material world. You are every one of you are members of God's family, and we're all brothers and sisters, you know that. But throughout the ages, there's occasionally is born an individual who is so pure of spirit that he or she distinguishes themselves from all others. These already perfected souls come upon the earth to provide us inspiration, to help us understand the truth in our relationship with God. They come onto earth and try to inspire us through their teachings, so that we, you and I, may become at one with our spiritual being in harmony with God. Depending on your religious belief, you can surely identify these special individuals who are the highest of spirits I speak of. In Western civilization, Joshua was a unique son of God who came to earth 2,000 years ago as an already perfected soul. Other religions may look to Muhammad or Zarathustra, Siddhartha, as also being perfected souls who came to earth to share with us the truth, their truth, and to help us progress, to evolve spiritually. Because these special children of God have already reached their perfection, they bring with them wisdom and understanding far beyond that of their fellow spirits, their fellow souls on earth, like you and I. Their practice of universal compassion and unconditional love and truth is unwavering and was always present. Their spiritual minds and their conscious minds are one and the same. It was one and the same, enabling them to have the wisdom of God, the commitment to teach others, and the ability to perform miracles. Miracle being the intervention of God. They are indeed the purest of the messages of God in flesh, what we're all trying to achieve. These perfected souls come again, are being reborn into earth, come again unto earth in body, for the main purpose of being our teachers, our apostles, and to help us on our journeys. It's very important that we concern ourselves with the quality of our lives, our daily lives, rather than potential benefits of benefits of actions affecting our future. There's a tendency for people to remember the past and relive it in their minds. But too many of the things we relive are negative and affect our beings, things of the past. An embarrassing moment needs only to be lived once. So important to understand that. An embarrassing moment only has to be lived once. A failure in business is one we should learn by, but not relive, because it can have a permanent impact on our confidence and our attitude to be successful in the future. That unpleasant experience, relived 10 times in your mind, is equal to 10 unpleasant experiences. You have to learn to confine yourself to only reliving your accomplishments and your proud moments only. Relive your proud moments, your accomplishments, but confine yourself to not reliving those experiences, those unpleasant experiences. But by reliving your accomplishments and your good memories, this provides you the attitude and enthusiasm that you need for a happy today and a better tomorrow. Today's world has many pressures in it. To relive the pressures of yesterday that are behind us and to carry them forward to add to today's responsibilities of our complex society is unwarranted. It's unfair to yourself. You shouldn't do it. Live for today. Live for today. And don't live for the past. You know, it's also natural to worry about the future, but you should not worry about things you can't control. If you do your best to lead a happy and healthy life today, tomorrow will take care of itself. How important is the now? How important? It's an incredible period of time. The now is an event that has never been before and is never going to come again. The now, right this now, this second. It's never come before, and it's never going to happen again. It's a split-second meeting point between millions of years that have gone before us and the infinite million of years that's ahead of us. It can never be duplicated. This moment, this day, this week is so unique, and your role in it is so precious, and you can make it magical and real if you want to, because you are the creator of your world if you live in the now. Every day is a new life, a new challenge. No 2 days are alike. Take in consideration the weather, the time that you get up, what you wear, the people you come in contact with and what they say. The great author Camus, who was an Algerian, He had a character in the book who said that even if he lived in the rest of his life inside of a tree, with only a little hole to look out of, only being able to see the sky and the effect on the sky from the time on each as a day at a time go by, and by the seasons, what a fascinating world he would live in, looking out of that little hole in the tree. The book was called The Stranger. That was the title of the book. And in the book, this man said that if I lived in a tree, and there was just a little hole I could look out of that tree, just a little hole, that's all I could see. But I could see clouds and the colors and the earth, the sky changing, getting lighter and darker. God, what a fascinating world it would be if I could see nothing other than inside the hole of that tree. In the hole of a tree, I could see it's a little hole and see how the world's changing every moment. What a fascinating world to be, he said. Why should you live in the future anyway? Life is now. It is now that God has given us the gift of being able to enjoy the sunrises, the sunsets, the pleasure of our friendships we have. If we only thought of pleasure as being sometime in the future, we'd train our senses and our mind to never enjoy what we're presently experiencing. For when that future does become the present, we will again be conditioned to say, I can't wait for the future. Don't be that person who says, I'm only looking forward to next month when I'm going on vacation. Then on vacation, you say, I can't wait to come back home to be with my family and friends. Or the child that says, she can't wait until they're in high school. Then when they get to the high school, they say they can't wait until they're in college. Or the college student says they can't wait to graduate and have the independence of living in the adult world. Or the adult who says that they can't wait to raise a family. Or the parent says they can't wait till the children are grown, so they don't have to wait on them any longer. Or the wage earner says they can't wait for retirement. Then what? So then you retire and you make a transition yourself. Live in the now. Live in the present. Don't always say, I'm waiting. I can't wait till something happens in the future. Enjoy the now. Create the now, because you are the creator of it. It's your now. You are the writer, the director, the producer, the choreographer, and the actor. And the greatest story to tell, your life, live in the now. Don't live in the future. Live for today, because it's God's gift. Life is now, and it's 5:43. Been with you for an hour. You've been with me for an hour. I hope I didn't bore you too much. I kind of just wing it. I kind of have a theme I'm going to talk about. I want to talk about knowing yourself. Wasn't that what a subject was supposed to be today? Knowing yourself. Discovering yourself. Discovering yourself. That's why I said discovering yourself. And that's what I hope that you got out of it, is living in the now. Learn how to live in the now and discover yourself now, not sometime in the future. Boy, there's 1,000 more things I could talk to you about, but it's 5:44. We've actually been together an hour. It's hard for me to believe that I talked for an hour. It's hard for me to believe you listened to me for an hour. No. Shall we end with a song? I don't know what the song is. Listen to the words. Maybe the words will have meaning to us.
Go on by and open it this time. It's like I've thrown pebbles at your window.
Trying to get your attention, God.
Go on by and open it this time. Start a fire for the gratitude to follow. You're alive once you open your eyes. We are bound to uncover our arrogant eyes. For me to have to make you the heart I'm spoken for to make you the fire angels want to save you. For me to I'll take you, take But you lay all the prophets and the beggars. It's your time on heaven inside. We've been called to the top and keep the river alive.
I'm going to say namaste to you. I did send you a little bit of healing energy for a short while, and I started to my mind started to leave this physical body. I don't mean I was dying, going through transition. I was just I started going to my garden, my Eden. I wasn't when I didn't do it intentionally. I just started happening. And I know then it's time for me to say au revoir. I'm going to be gone for a few days. No, I'm not going to meet Joshua. I'm not going down there. I'm going further south of that. Anyway, about spring break vacation time, my son's gone home on Friday, and he and his mother and I and another friend are going on a week vacation. But we'll be back on Saturday, so I'll see you next Sunday. I timed it, so I'm going Monday morning to Saturday, because I know that you'd be really sad. I knew you'd be really sad and miss me if I wasn't here next Sunday, because I'll miss you also. So my plane gets back on Saturday night. I'll be tanned and healthy. I'm going to work out every day. I'm not going to lay in the sun. I'm going to walk, jog along the beach to listen to the roar of the ocean. Look across that ocean, see that guy on the other side of the ocean, that little Japanese guy about this big, wondering who the hell I am on my side of the Pacific, as he looks east while I'm looking west, and wondering how come he isn't upside down. Wow. Anyway, I'll see you next Sunday, but I won't be posting on the site because I'll be in Mexico, in Cabo San Lucas, whatever that means. San Lucas, Saint Lucas. I wonder what kind of Saint Lucas was. Anyway, ciao, my friends. As they say in Spain, Padre nuestro que estás todavía sente cara sei tu nombre, venga tu reino, sei tu voluntad. Namaste. Namaste. My computer's going to say goodbye to you right now. Vaya con Dios.
Goodbye.